This week's In the Field is presented by Gordon's Feed and Pet.
I don't know about you, but I'm a big fan of goat cheese. To get it locally, we traveled to Terrell Creek Farms in Fordland so that I can introduce you to all my new friends.
My name is Leslie Million, and we are here at Terrell Creek Farm. We lived in Springfield for several years, raised our children there. We went camping and canoeing, hiking a lot, just loved being outside. So we moved out here, purchased the land in 2006, and we'd always gardened, always had a big garden in town. And we just wanted to be a little more self-sufficient as far as our food, where our food comes from. So we started, we got some goats and started milking goats, and I had already been purchasing milk and making cheese when we lived in town. We got chickens. And we were driving back and forth to work every day, you know, commuting, and decided that it sure would be nice to not have to do that, to actually work here and for the farm to make money to support itself and maybe even support us.
And support them it does. 7 years ago, Terrell Creek went commercial, purchased a few more goats, built a barn, and topped it all off with an industrial kitchen for making cheese. And their herd and business has grown even more over the years.
When we were commercial, we started with 12. So we had 12 goats the first year. Still had our jobs in town, driving back and forth and doing this. Next year we milked 24. Year after that we milked 36. Year after that 48. And the past few years we've stayed right around 50. We have Nubians, and they have a lot of butter, fat, and protein in their milk. It's a very rich milk. They're kind of like the Jerseys of the goat world. So our yield is very high. We'll get at least a pound of cheese per gallon of milk. So when we're milking 50 and we're getting a half a gallon, you know, it's a pretty good yield of cheese.
From February to December, Leslie said they get about 300 gallons of milk per week, which they quickly turn into chèvre, the soft, tangy, and creamy cheese many are familiar with. Some of the favorites include urban garlic, cranberry pecan, pumpkin walnut, and chocolate chip, which I hear tastes just like chocolate chip cheesecake. So how is all the cheese made?
When we make cheese, we will transfer the milk from the bulk tank into the pasteurizer. It's a combination pasteurizer cheese vat. It'll hold 45 gallons of milk at a time. After it's pasteurized, excuse me, we'll cool it down to around 86 to 90 degrees, depending on the type of cheese that we're producing. Then we'll add cultures and enzymes. There's usually a time that we allow it to sit. It's called ripening. So the milk ripens while the culture and the enzyme, you know, does its thing and works on the milk. At that point, we'll add rennet, which is a coagulant. It causes the protein structures to form a net, and it traps all of the good stuff, all the fat and the protein and calcium and everything in there, and forms a curd. And from there, depending on the kind of cheese that we're making, it might sit overnight and then be scooped into draining bags, or we may cut the curd and stir it, or they call it cooking, even though you don't increase the temperature a whole lot. And then it could go into forms to make a hard cheese or a semi-soft cheese, just depending on what we're making. The things that will influence any kind of cheese are just going to be time, temperature, the amount of rennet that you use, and then the cultures and enzymes, the specific cultures and enzymes you use.
You can find Terrell Creek cheeses throughout the Springfield and Joplin areas, including Farmers Market of the Ozarks, Webb City Farmers Market, Brown Derby International Wine Center, Homegrown Foods, Mama Jean's, Lucky's Market, and Ozark Natural Foods in Fayetteville. But also in restaurants like Farmer's Gastropub, Gilardi's, Harvest, The Order, and Chateau on the Lake.
We are very passionate about the local food movement because we're very concerned about where our food comes from. We know that a lot of people in the area are. So I think that connection between the consumer and the farmer, where their food comes from, is important. I think that there's a real hunger nowadays in people to connect with where their food comes from. You know, people have kind of gotten away from that over the past several years, and I think they're becoming more aware, and it's more important to them.
It doesn't get any fresher than this. The goats out back were milked just 24 hours ago to bring us this now goat cheese. To learn more about Terrell Creek Farms in Portland, visit them on Facebook.